Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. This is the Power Woman series. This is a platform where power women from across the world come to share their authentic, insightful, and transformational stories. Before I introduce our guest for today, let me read the comment. They say you can't hear me. I'm sorry, can you hear me now? I was actually muted. Thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you for joining. Yes, can you hear me now? Okay, great. Yes, I was muted and I was just going on and on and on, and I wasn't really paying attention to the comment box. But thank you for that, and I'm glad you can hear me now. So please, before I introduce our guest for today, please share your name and tell us where you're watching from. And remember to share this video, invite other people to join, and let us listen to this amazing story. Elizabeth Adedokun, thank you so much. Elizabeth is joining in from Minnesota. Tolulokpe. Volume, please. Wow. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, just say I can hear you. Lizzie from Minnesota. All right. So people are saying they can hear me, but Tolulokpe says volume, please. Does that mean I should increase my volume? If you can hear me, let me know one more time. Just type in the comment box you can hear me. Awesome. Okay, so everyone can hear me. Just leave your name and your location, and also share this video with other people so we can have a great time together. My guest for today is none other than Noreen Makosewe. I hope I pronounced that right, but she'll soon be here to introduce herself. She is a native of Kenya, and she is also the founder of Radical Leap LLC. She's going to tell us about that shortly. And she's ready to share her story. She's a native of Kenya. She moved to the UK when she was 17 years old. That's barely an adult, or almost an adult. Okay, so we're going to hear from her right now. Please, can we have Miss Noreen Makosewe, please?
Hello.
Welcome. Did I say that right? Did I say your name right?
It was close. It's Makosewe.
Makosewe. Okay. Yeah, I it's just a difference.
But you did good.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for accepting my invitation. I am really grateful for the opportunity to interview you and to share your story with the world. I know people are waiting. They can't wait to, hear from you, hear your story. So before we get started, I like to say that, could you please introduce yourself? Who is Noreen Makosewe as a brand? Who are you and what do you stand for?
Thank you so much, Shaun. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have a chat with you. I'm humbled and honored to be able to share my story with your platform. I hope that it inspires someone. Like yourself, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a sister, a friend, a daughter. I fall under many umbrellas, but really I'm just a girl who followed her dream. That's it. And that's how I describe myself.
I love that. One of the things that really inspire me is when I see girls that live their dreams, girls that actually follow their dreams, because as Africans, I know you know this already, we grew up in a society whereby sometimes we can be afraid or shy of coming out and saying, you know what, I want to put my foot down and I want to start following my dreams. So that is great. Now, let's dig down. You were originally from Kenya and you migrated to the UK when you were 17 years old. And you only had 100 pounds. Am I correct? You only had 100 pounds in your pocket. Tell us about that journey and that experience. What inspired the move, and what were you hoping to achieve?
Well, moving to the United Kingdom when I was 17 was actually my mom's idea. I grew up in Kenya. I was born and brought up in Kenya. My family was actually quite okay. We didn't need to, let me say, based on what a lot of people think, I didn't feel I needed to migrate. I actually did not want to go to the UK,
Okay.
but an opportunity came up to study, and my mom said, look, take this opportunity. You never know what's going to come of it. I refused. I talked to my dad. I said, Dad, I don't want to go. But my dad was like, it's an opportunity your mom has found. Please take it. Go see what is out there. If you ever hate it, come back home. You know, you're not being chased away from home. So I took the opportunity and I went, and my mom gave me 100, I didn't know it was 100 pounds at the time. She just gave me money. And, you know, at that age, that money looked like a lot of money in my pocket.
To you, okay?
Yeah, to me, it looked like, yeah, this is a lot of money. I think I'll be okay. And and when I got to the UK, very quickly, within a week, I was like, this money is getting finished fast. Wow. And but the inspiration was to go and study. My mom found an opportunity. She said, go take this opportunity, go to college. You've just finished your high school, and go and see what the world holds for you. Make the most out of it. And so I went, and that was the beginning of a whole adventure that that has brought me to where I am today.
Wow. Wow. So when your mom found that opportunity, what was the plan for accommodation? Where were you going to stay? What were you going to study? How are you going to feed yourself? What was the real plan behind that?
My sister already lived in the UK. I had an older sister. She was already in the UK. And so my mom said, well, your sister is there, so don't worry, you'll figure it out when you get there. She's already studying, so she'll show you what to do when you get to the UK. So I already had a sibling in the UK.
So you already had a sibling. Were you staying with her when you got to the UK?
No, when I got to the UK, I was being my independent self, and I found myself my own accommodation. I found myself my own accommodation. But what I didn't realize at the time, Kenya and the UK had a very good relationship at the time. And so going to the UK did not need all the red tape we have now, like visas and all of those things. So when I got to the UK, the authorities said that you're 17, and by law, we're required to look after you until you turn 18. Then you can go on and do your own thing. So it was pure by chance. I think, let me call it serendipity. Because I was 17, I was considered a minor.
Yes, you were.
Yes, I was considered a minor. So I got everything that I needed in terms of accommodation, schooling. It was at no charge. So I made the most of the year from 17 to 18. And I capitalized on that, went to school, registered, did everything that I needed to make sure I was compliant. And then when I turned 18, I was an adult and I started looking after myself.
Wow. So when you turned 18 and you were studying, you had to take a third job. How did you survive that situation? Because I know quite a number of people that are currently in similar shoes that you were back then. And I know that it's not easy. So how were you able to fend for yourself once you turned 18 and, you know, going to school, getting a job? How are you able to survive that situation?
You know, when I honestly look back at my story, and I think going into a new country, I didn't have any preconceived ideas about what it would be like. I think in a way, my naivety helped me. And so I had this faith. I just went, you know, you have an opportunity, I took it and I just went. And so I would say it was just being, I don't know how to say it. I can't say I was brilliant. Don't get me wrong. But when I got there, I just knew I'm here to study. Tell me what I need to do. What do I need to register? What do I need to make sure I do that I'm compliant with the country? So I met people when I got there. I mean, I had people who gave me pointers. Go and register for your national insurance here. Go and register for accommodation here. Go and do this. So I followed all of those steps. And so I didn't fall into trouble at all because I followed what the government regulations required for a minor to do. So I got accommodation very quickly. I got registered at college very quickly. My paperwork
and what were you studying at college?
I was studying information technology. So I registered in college and I began my course. Because I studied in Kenya, the country required that you did the foundation course to fit in.
Yes.
I registered. I wasn't really, I I just followed the rules. Let me call it that. I just followed the rules,
Follow the rules.
and the rules helped me. So I followed the rules, step 1, step 2, step 3, and the country had really good support for minors, and that's what really helped
Really
me.
helped you. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that you relocated to the UK when you were 17, and then 3 years after, your dad passed. And what happened when you got that news? How were you able to carry on despite the burden and, that's such an irreplaceable loss?
I got the news about my dad passing. I was in college. I was literally let me just backtrack a little. When I left Kenya, I always knew I wanted to come back home very quickly. So I had no intention of living in the UK all of that time. I just know, go and study, get your degree, get out,
And
come
go back
home.
home.
Because
Okay.
I wanted to be at home. So I was in college when I got the news that my father had passed away. I'd literally just completed my exam. I walked out of the exam hall and I walked into the hallway to leave the college. And I said bye to my friends because I was going to pack to come back home because we were going into holiday season.
Okay.
And so as I was leaving the door, it was one of those automatic doors that open. And as it was opening, I got a text message to say, call home now. And I called and I got the news. And that was how I found out. And I don't remember what happened after that, but I went home. I went home to pack my bags to go home for my father's
Kenya.
To travel to Kenya. But because I'd put in an application, because like I'd said, I was following the steps that I was instructed to follow to make sure that I had all my paperwork in place. So when I left the UK, when I left Kenya, I had my Kenyan citizenship. But Kenya did not permit dual citizenship. And I wanted to, no, they didn't. So to be able to get the UK citizenship to access the education, higher education like university,
yes.
I was required to relinquish citizenship of Kenya.
Wow.
Yes. So to get my naturalization, I did that. So when my father passed away, my application was already at the Home Office. So I called them and I said, look, just give me my papers back. I don't want to be here anyway. I want to go home. My father's passed away. But they said, unfortunately, madam, the process has started and we can't stop it. I said, well, just stop the process. Give me my papers and let me go back home. And they refused.
Courage to ask, because ordinarily, someone would have given up.
No, I wanted to be home. I wanted to come home. I never wanted to be in the UK in the first place.
I mean, like, you could take the citizenship and then apply for a visa to go to Kenya, but you were insisting they give you your papers back because you wanted to go home.
Yeah, no, but that's because they said that we've already kickstarted the process and it's going to take a few weeks for us to finalize to get your naturalization, to get your British citizenship. I said, don't worry about the British citizenship. Give me my Kenyan papers and let me go to
Let me go home.
Let me go home because I want to go for my father's funeral. But they refused. So it was an unfortunate incident where I missed my father's funeral.
So you couldn't go home.
Yeah. So I couldn't go because they just wouldn't give me my papers back. They said we have to finish the process. So they did finish the process and I ended up with a naturalization. But I missed my father's funeral and it was devastating. I won't lie. Yeah. It was very difficult. And it took me a long time to heal from just missing the funeral. But I did eventually come back home and paid my respects. And it was, let me say, it was an experience that I wouldn't wish on anyone because I wanted to say goodbye to him. We were very close. But having said that, my family kept me in the loop and we were on the phone all the time and they kept me updated. So that's how I went with that part of my life. Yeah.
And may his soul continue to rest in peace.
Thank you.
I want to move on to the next question. If you are just joining us, this is the Power Woman series. My name is Shion Akinoton, and with me today is Noreen Makosewe. We're discussing her life story, how she relocated from Kenya to the UK and how she was able to build her brand and all that. Miss Noreen, you finished college, you finished university, and then you started working full-time. But when you were working full-time, you were also able to start your consulting business on the side. I wanted you to talk a little bit about how you were able to manage working full time and having a business. Could you share more details about that? Or if you
Yes,
have any tips for people that want to start their business while working full time?
yeah. Actually, I started working full time after my father passed away.
Hmm.
So, in the transition from obviously losing him, the
Mhm.
family had to readjust because he was the sole breadwinner. So,
Hmm.
um, my sister and myself were in the UK at the time. So, we made a decision that we would contribute regularly to make sure that the rest of the family had everything they needed. So,
Okay.
it was a family effort and we're contributing. So, I
And
put
how many
myself,
siblings do you have?
I have six.
Okay.
Six. Well, we lost one, so now we're five. But
Okay.
yeah, so at the time we were six, and we decided to all contribute. Those of us who are working,
Mm-hmm.
and I deferred my university course to work full time. Yes, and
Okay.
so I took on a full time job. My first full time job was at the Marriott International headquarters. It was my first corporate job. I learned a lot.
Okay.
And then I transitioned from Marriott and went into the investment banking industry. And that is where I was working when I started my consultancy. So I was straddling both a full-time job,
Mm-hmm.
studying part-time, and also building a business
Business.
part-time.
So, what
Um,
tips would you like to share with people that want to do that?
I think from personal experience,
Yes.
the one thing I always say to people is there's a level of discipline that's required to do that. And
Discipline.
discipline, yes. And
Okay.
it is not for the faint-hearted.
Hmm.
Um, it is not for the faint-hearted because I had a full-time job, left the house at 6, started work at 8, finished work at 4, left work and was home by 5, and then from 5 to 6 exercise, from 6 to 9 building a business.
You still have
And
time to exercise?
I did have time to exercise. I did,
Wow.
but it took a lot of it. I think it was meticulous. It was very meticulous. I had to be very ruthless with my time. I had friends who were like, Noreen, come, let's go out, let's go to dinner, or let's go
Mhm.
out, let's go have fun. And I knew from Monday to Friday was
Mhm.
my time to do what I needed to do to get where I wanted to go. And then on Saturday, I might spend time with friends. So I was very, very particular about my time. I had a planner
Okay.
and I apportioned my time very clearly. I knew from the time I woke up was my prayer time. Between waking up and getting to work, I like to do my praying, get to
Okay.
work, focus on the job, finish work, get home, rest, exercise. My exercise wasn't every day, by the way. It was maybe 3 times a week. So I'll be honest. I'll be honest about that. And
Okay.
then build my business 2 hours every day. So I spent 2 hours every single day building my business.
So
And
are you telling me that 2 hours working on your business counts daily?
yes, I mean, if you calculate 2 hours by 5, that's 10 hours a week working on your business.
Okay.
And because I was building my consultancy, I
Mhm.
knew that every 2 hours, I knew I could do something, whether it was creating templates,
Yes.
preparing emails in advance. So if, say, for example, I wanted to send emails to people, I'd type
Mhm.
the emails the night before and put them in.
Hmm.
And then when I wake up in the morning, I just hit send, 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 send. So I always prepared in advance what I needed to do the following day. And I did that. It became a habit. And that is really literally how my business grew.
Hmm.
But I also made time to attend networking events. So I was still pretty new in the
Networking.
industry. And so I made time. I had a budget for networking. I would
Mhm.
attend the free ones, but if I needed to attend a paid one, it was
Okay.
in my budget to attend a networking event at least once every week. So I was doing
Okay.
that to learn, to grow, to network,
To
but I was
network
also
with people.
developing myself. So
Yes.
my tip for anyone is
Yes.
time management and money management. That is what makes
Time
difference.
management and money management. You know why I'm asking you these questions? Because
Yeah.
I get to relate with different people from different parts of the world. And one common thing that people would complain about is, oh, I'm working full time, or oh, I have kids, or, different sorts of excuses. But you're saying that if we invest 2 hours per day in our businesses, we can grow something or whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be a business. Whatever your heart desire is, whatever you're dreaming of, you can spend 2 hours daily and then go ahead and achieve something substantial with that. Thank you so much. Now, you said you lost everything at 30. I want you to tell us that story. You were able to overcome betrayal, financial loss. You became homeless at some point. Can you please share more details about how that came to be? And then what did you do to bounce back?
Okay, so that story is still, every time I share that story, and the good thing about sharing that story, let me say now, is I no longer share it with pain, you know, so I've that season of being upset about it. So now I'm in a good place to be able to share it. The story behind that was a family member needed support. They needed help. And they reached out to me and they said, I want you to take out a loan for this. Could you please co-sign and just guarantee that I'll pay it back? So I live by the principle. I know I live by the principle.
Did you sign the document?
Yes. So let me tell you how I got to that point. So I live by the biblical principle of do not co-sign. I'd always lived by that. And I was very meticulous with my money, very well organized. I shared a video the other day where I shared how my father was my inspiration. He paid his bills in advance. And I wanted to be like him. So I started living my life like that. I'd pay my bills in advance. I didn't want anyone to call me to say you owe me money. So I was always on time or before time. I'd pay everything in advance. So I live by the principle of do not co-sign on the dotted line, because the very bed that you sleep on will be taken from under you. There's a scripture.
Absolutely. But you were thinking this person is a family member.
No, they begged me. They begged me for days. They called and they begged and said, you know, I'm good for it. I knew they had a good job. They could, I felt they could be dependable to honor their agreement.
How much are we talking about?
A lot. A lot. It wasn't a little. So unfortunately, they did not honor their agreement. And we only found out when they left the country. I did not know they were leaving the country. It was when the authorities called me and said, well, we're reaching out to you because you guaranteed this and this person, we can't find them. So you need to repay us. So it was then that I found out that they had never paid anything back. They had never honored any of their repayments. The interest rate was yay high. And the agreement with them was now in the red. So they were now coming for property. And I didn't know that this person hadn't paid anything over the months.
And you had
yes. So it became a case of now dealing with higher authorities than the actual company that the loan had.
Because if the loan is in default, then they transfer it to someone else that can help.
Transfer to the guarantor.
The money.
So yes, I took on the responsibility, and what that meant was, at the time when this happened, I was literally about to invest in property because I always wanted to be a property investor. I planned my life in advance. And it didn't work out like that. So I had to scale back everything I had planned, and every single penny that I had needed or had built until that point was used to begin to repay back all of these defaults. Because even though this person had left the country, it was now my name and my record and my credit rating that was going to take a hit. So I did everything I could, but unfortunately, I didn't have the capacity to handle all of it. So it became a very difficult situation of one, dealing with these companies, negotiating, making sure that the companies that were owed knew what was happening. So I learned how to communicate. I won't lie. I learned very quickly how to communicate at this level, because even though I was a good communicator in the area of business, I was now negotiating in a different way. So as much as I hated it, I learned how to negotiate with these companies to make sure that they knew what was happening, make sure, keep everything on record, write letters, document everything, have files and track records of all conversations. So it was a very difficult season of my life. And
how long did it take you to pay back?
It took me years. It took me years, many years. But the first thing that I learned at the time was it wasn't even about
share the
money.
lesson now. I want us to go on a quick break, and when we come back, you're going to share the lessons from that experience. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Hello, sweets.
Hi, babe. What's the matter with you? What are you looking for?
Where is she?
She what?
Where did you hide her?
I don't understand. Don't you trust me?
Where did you put the girl? Where's the lady?
I don't understand what you're saying.
I know the smell of your house. What I perceive is quite different. It's charming, it's alluring, it's sweet, it's acting. Where is she?
Okay. This is she.
She?
Yes.
How? She? Feminine? Nice. Where did you get this from?
Got it from a friend.
Nice one.
Yes. You can use Femnit's air freshener to get your girlfriend jealous.
Seriously?
Welcome back, everyone. This is the Power Woman series. My name is Seun Akinloton, and with me today is Noreen Makosewe. Before we went on the short break, she was sharing the story about how she co-signed a loan for a family member that evaded repayment, and she had to bear that responsibility. We're back now, and she's going to share some tips and lessons that she learned from that experience with us. Welcome back, Noreen.
Thank you, Seun.
All right. So what were the lessons that you learned from that experience?
I learned many lessons, but in hindsight, one of the first lessons I learned was, I think earlier you asked me how I dealt with it. One of the first things, it wasn't even about the money for me initially. I needed to learn how to forgive very quickly. And it was hard. It was the toughest, I think it was one of the toughest lessons I had to learn, because I know you have to forgive. But
Did you reach out to them by any chance?
Sorry?
Did you reach out to this family member after they left? What did they say? What excuse did they give?
They blocked me.
What?
Yes, they blocked me. They blocked my number from communicating. I mean, because at the time we didn't have Instagram and all of that stuff. So they blocked my number. I reached out to them. I explained what had happened, and I just wanted to understand why they did what they did, because it might have been that they were in a situation that they couldn't talk about. There was no explanation. There was no apology. There was just abuse. And it was, I still look back at it and I don't understand what happened with them, because we never talked about it to date.
Are you still in touch with them?
Not anymore. Not anymore. Unfortunately, they're no longer. They passed away many years ago. So
they passed away?
Yes. So I learned, one of the key lessons I learned was to learn to live without the apology that you always wanted. You know, a lot of us want someone to apologize. They want you come back and say sorry to me. But I learned that you can let go without being apologized to. As painful as it was, I needed to do that for myself, because I don't know. I believe in, I'm a Christian, so I live by biblical principles. And
Yeah.
there's a scripture that I love that
Mhm.
talks about forgiveness.
Yeah.
It was the best thing I ever had to do. But I learned that I needed to do that for myself, because all of my life's decisions come from me. They don't come from anyone else. They come from within me, my heart, my mind, my soul, all of that. So I needed to heal so that my life could move forward, because I'd gotten stuck. I'd gotten stuck in this place of being upset and being angry and being in pain, not knowing what to do, waiting for them to come back and say sorry. And they were not coming back to say sorry. So I learned that you have to be willing to release people even when
they don't apologize. But it's so painful. It's so painful.
It was.
I'll tell you that what you're saying makes a lot of sense for our own mental health. You have to be able to release the person or release the people and forgive them even when they failed to apologize. It's so painful. And I know that it must have taken you some time to get to that point whereby you are able to say, you know what, I forgive you. I let you go from my heart. And Titi Izwage is saying that, yes, especially women, most times you are your own closure. It's hard. I know those things, but it's really hard. Oluwatosin says, definitely, some people won't apologize for the wrong they did to you, and we must learn to forgive ourselves and move on and away from it. It's so hard. We're talking about financial loss from someone you trusted, someone you called a family member. So it's so hard, and I'm so happy to hear that you've forgiven, you've moved on, and I'm so thankful to God for your life, because it's just so hard. And co-signing is something that I have been approached.
Don't do it.
Different people have been approached, and I have never done it. But
don't do it.
Sometimes it makes you feel bad that you can't help that person. And then for me, two of the people that actually approached me, it's not like we have a real relationship, so I find it very hard to believe that out of everyone in the world, I'm the next person you felt like you could come and say, can you please sign this for me? So it's really, really hit home for me, because I almost signed for one person, and then you just have to think about it. If this person defaults, then everything is on you. Can you afford this money? If this person defaults, can you truly afford to pay back? So can you please share, in hindsight, is it something you would do again for a family member if they come to you to ask for cosign?
I was never gonna do it in the first place, because they really begged for like a week, 2 weeks consistently. And I lived with a principle. It was a life principle I lived by. And in hindsight, I would never do it for anyone. That is my honest. And I think I based that on personal experience, but also just better awareness of the legalities of doing it. Even with a family member, I am more aware of what it takes to be in that position. And I think now, in fact, I work with business owners where I advise them not to do that. There's another way that you can support somebody who needs help in that way. And if they're not eligible for a bank loan, they're very likely they should not be eligible for a loan from you. And so I learned some good lessons, tough lessons. But when I look back, I didn't enjoy the experience, I won't lie. But what that experience did for me was a number of things, because it took me to a place of really deep self-reflection, because I needed to release the pain. I needed to let go. I needed to forgive. And then I needed to look at myself and ask myself how I breached those boundaries that I always had. And then what else did I need to learn from this experience? And in that period of time, it was about 2 years of just going in circles, because I needed to recover, I needed to release, I needed to forgive, I needed to start rebuilding my life. And in that season, I wrote books. That was when I started really writing.
Writing
And that
books.
was when I started really paying attention to, let me say, hearing and listening to what your intuition and what God says to you and obeying. And so a lot of the solutions.
There was a blessing that came out of that, basically.
Yeah, there was. And in the listening and just paying attention, that is where the solutions I provide my clients now came from. Understanding the money mindset mastery, understanding the spiritual principles behind money, understanding leadership, your leadership capability, understanding how to be human in leadership. So there's quite a number of talks that I built from that. I wrote programs. I literally rebuilt my whole business from that entire experience. And so I'm a lot wiser for it. I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But I'm grateful that I learned from it. Yes.
Wow. So talking about rebuilding, having lost so much, how were you able to start over again? Considering the fact that you didn't have money, so how were you able to start your business from the scratch?
So when all of this happened, I was still working within the bank, but also building my business. So at the time, I'd already moved into working part-time because I'd negotiated with my boss and I'd said to him, look, I can give the same output at work without having to do the number of hours. So he said, that's fine. If you can still give me the same results, you can reduce your hours. So I'd reduced my hours. I was working part-time and I was building my business full-time. So I didn't have the money that I had to buffer myself. When I say that, I had put savings in and I had extra. Let me call it, I had more than I needed because now I was going to invest. Okay. But when all of this happened, I went back to negative figures.
Yes.
So in that respect, I did not have the money that I needed to do the things that I thought I wanted to do. Yeah. But I still had an income coming from the job. It just meant that I was starting from using that money to repay the debts, plus also thinking about building my business. I learned, a very important lesson I learned is, as business owners, a lot of times we feel, and it's context specific. It doesn't apply to everyone. A lot of business owners feel they need funding. I need funding to do this. Yeah. And what I did in that season was I didn't actually need as much money that I thought I needed to build a business.
Yes, because we were working on a lean budget.
So working on a lean budget.
Better, and you came up with better strategies rather than depending on the money. Because if you have the money, you probably spend it on things that are not really important.
Exactly. So what I learned in that season was I needed money to build my business, but I didn't need as much as I thought I did. And so what I started doing was looking at my spend, my own personal spend. And I went really lean into my budget at home. And I began to look at, the first thing, there was a lady at the time that I followed, her name was Danny Johnson. I don't know if you've heard of Danny Johnson.
No.
And I was paying attention to Danny Johnson, brilliant teacher on financial intelligence. And so I did this mini course, where I did an assessment of my pantry, which is where you store your food. When you buy it, you put it. Yes. And I began to look at everything that I had, and I realized that I was spending more on food than I needed to, because I had food that was going to last me for like 3 months. So I stopped shopping for 3 months. I thought, I'm not going to buy food until I finish the last spaghetti in this cupboard, So I was really lean on my shopping. Okay. And then I began to pay attention to all the excesses that I had in my budget.
Yeah.
And when I reduced my spending, I realized I had more than enough to kick areas of business that I needed to do. So whether it meant printing, collateral, marketing material, setting up a website, web hosting, phone, all of those things, I didn't need a lot. And so I became more resourceful. And my business grew without the money that I thought I needed I needed for it to grow. And I began to think more strategically. I began to ask myself, what can I do now just with what I have to generate revenue? So I began to work with the clients that I had to give them what I got at the time, as opposed to wanting more. Because let me use this, and let me say, I call it the multiplier effect. You have to be a multiplier in business. If you can't
multiply in business, okay?
Yeah. If you cannot, what that means is, if you're in business and I give you $100 today, you should be able to multiply that $100 into something, meaning that within a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, that $100 should then be 150, 200, 300, something. You should multiply it. And your ability to multiply it even more makes you more successful. So I learned to multiply the little that I had, because if I could multiply that, then my business could grow. Now, if I could not multiply the little that I had no business being in business. And that is what I learned in my business very early. And that is what I've used this whole time. So that period of time taught me a lot about myself as a business owner. And until today, even my sisters and I usually laugh. If they go shopping, my sister might spend $100, $150 in food, but I will spend $50 and we can still feed the family on $50. So I learned how to shop, where to shop, how to spend, and just how to be that multiplier in different areas of my life. So that's the key that stood with me. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you said something. You said that if you have $100, you're meant to multiply that money as a business owner. So in the next 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that money should be 120, 150, 180, 200, whatever. And you said if you are not able to multiply that money, you have no business being in business. What do you say to people that say, yes, I have this money, I invested so much in this idea, I thought people would latch on the idea, and for some reason, they are not able to get customers, but they know that it's a good idea? What do you say to those people? Is there something they can do? Can you just share like one strategy? And we can scroll your handle if people want to follow you as well. We'll scroll it on the bottom.
Yeah.
Just your first name and last name, right?
Yes, Noreen Makosewe.
Okay.
So in answer to your question, yes, there is a place for making mistakes in business where you test the market with your product or your service. You test it, but the reality is the market tells you if you should be in business. So I might think my idea is a good idea.
Okay.
But the test of that is somebody paying me for what I think is a good idea. So the market tells me if my idea is a good one or not.
Okay.
And the response of the market could mean a number of things. It could mean either you've targeted the wrong people, maybe they don't understand what you're saying, so your message is off. Maybe a bit off. Yes, so your positioning could be wrong. Maybe the timing of when you release that could be wrong. So there's a number of factors that obviously could mean that your product didn't succeed. But the only way to know is to keep checking why. So if you go to the market should tell you, well, I think your product is great, but the price is wrong for me. Then you know it's a price thing. Or you may say, oh, well, I actually don't like this element of what you're doing. And you ask them, what do you like? So one of the challenges a lot of business people have is assuming that your product is good. Your product is a good product, but your product is only as good as the market telling you it's good. And they vote with their money. They vote with their wallet. And if they're paying you, they're calling you, they're asking for you, then you know that it is relevant to the people that you've reached out to. So a strategy to be able to understand better is to talk to the market, and maybe talk to the market before you release it. And even if you released it, talk to them as you're releasing and ask them, what do you think about this? Would you use it? How much would you pay for it? And how often would you want it? And it's looking at making your product a consumable. You might make a product that is a one-off buy, but you might make a product that people want to use over and over again. So there's a number of factors to consider when working and doing
something
business.
like that.
Yes, you need to assess how viable is your product, how sustainable and how profitable it is. And where the biggest failure is often in the sustainability, because you want to make a product that is relevant and people will be, it will be a repeat buy for you to be able to generate that type of revenue, unless you're looking for a one-off payment and then that's it. So there's a number of things to consider for people whose idea failed the first time. It doesn't mean, it could mean that it's the wrong idea, but it would also mean that there's things that you need to tweak, from the marketing to the branding to market research, talking to your customer, timing, location, all of those things that could really make a difference to how successful your product or your service is.
Wow, I feel like I'm in business school, and thank you for those tips, very useful tips. Yes, thank you for sharing. You are the creator of Female Founders Africa.
Yeah.
And you said this is for 500 future-ready, tech-savvy, women-owned business by 2030. That's your goal, right?
2030.
And we are in 2020, so we're talking about 10 years' time. What inspired you to start, and what value are you bringing to the table?
So Female Founders Africa, I set that up for inspired by the fact that I could see the challenges a lot of African female founders face in the market. And this is particularly female founders on the continent, in different parts of the continent. Being female myself and also being African, I know some of the challenges we experience, one in launching and in growing our businesses. So it could be from, I know a lot of women experience the fear factor, meaning they're afraid to pitch, they're afraid to go for opportunities. And sometimes when they go for opportunities, they're not given equal platforms, equal opportunities, equal funding. So it concerned me that we have so many amazing, innovative women in Africa who are not being given the opportunity to really make an impact on their economies as much as they would like to. So what I wanted to do was to transfer what we do with the Radical Leap company, which is strategy, technology, and market expansion through access to markets or access to investment, and transfer that with a focus on women on the continent. And these are women in different fields. My thought process has always been, why is it that African women on the continent, we tend to be encouraged to build small businesses? So when the women-owned businesses, it is a small business at the corner. It's a little shop. It's a little something, and that is the majority. But I wanted to create an ecosystem, or to be part of an ecosystem where African women are building really high value, high net worth businesses. Yes. And I also was coming from the mindset of, I grew up in Kenya, and in Kenya, I saw women come together and support each other. I know in different African contexts we have, in Kenya, we call it chama, where women put money together and then rotate it around the table. I think in Nigeria it's called susu or susu. And so it's, in South Africa, it's Stokvel. So there's different variations of this thing. And because I know a little bit about investing and funding and all of these things, and in Africa, a lot of African entrepreneurs want to apply for funding from external bodies. But when I look at what we call the table banking model, we have the money on the continent. We have the money to self-fund. Between 10 women, there could be $50,000 just passing around at that table. And that is funding for a business. So I wanted to find a way to bring these old models of doing business in Africa and find a way for us to self-fund on the continent. Let African women fund other African women and become the investors that we need on the continent without having to rely on the UN, African Union, all of these investment companies coming and taking a stake. How about we build an ecosystem where we are the funders of our own dreams and we control how the economy runs in our countries? And you have women who now own the ShopRite and women who own the Woolworths of Africa. We can create that. And so I wanted to challenge women to begin to, for those who are not that way inclined, there's women who are doing amazing things, but what about the majority? Because we're only as strong as our weakest link. So that is my mission with Female Founders Africa, is to help 500 women who become very tech savvy and think future and build businesses that are future ready. So we're looking 10 years from now, by 2050, Africa's population will surpass the population of Asia. So what can we do to prepare for that? What technologies can we do to prepare for that? COVID-19 has happened. What can we do as African women-owned businesses to shift with the market as it's moving? Can we provide the infrastructure? Can we provide the manpower? Can we learn something new? Education has shifted. Women are the majority teaching children at home. We're now the education system. We can rebuild that in a different way. So my mindset behind African Female Founders Africa is innovation, technology, and transformation of the ecosystem in Africa. So, and I don't do it on my own. I work alongside partners who have the same mindset and share the same values.
Okay, so you have a question, and the question is from Elijah, and it's asking, how do you know if your ideas are marketable, and how do you differentiate your idea from top competitors? And I think that's a valid question.
Yeah.
So what do you say to that?
I go back to market research. I find the majority of entrepreneurs skip market research, which is a very important part of building a business.
I hope some people are listening.
Yeah. How do you know if your idea is marketable? Is to talk to the market. You have to talk to the market.
Talk to people around.
Whenever you're starting a business, whatever it is, whether it's an idea, you might, let me say this. I often say that there's a difference between what you think the market needs and what the market wants. Because you might look at people, and I say this carefully, you might look at people, you think people in this area need to exercise a little bit more, maybe they need to drink more juice or whatever it is. You feel they need that. But then, do they really want that? There's a difference between what they need and what they want. So I buy what I want. And I could go to the market and you say to me, okay, I think you need this pair of shoes. And I'll say, those are nice, but that is not what I want. So you have to differentiate between what you feel the market needs and what the market is telling you they want. And you know if your idea is marketable if the market is asking you for it.
Yes.
They're asking you for this thing. They say, I really like how you created this. Do you have 5 different colors? Then if the market is asking you for those things, you know that it is marketable, because the people who should be buying from you want to buy that and they want to buy more. And how do you differentiate your idea from your top competitors is to understand what the competition is doing. Again, market research. You need to know who the key players in your ecosystem are, what they're doing, and then you need to find what they're not doing well, and you do that. So you could compete on price. You could find one that's really high priced, but you find that they're lacking in customer service. Maybe they don't have options, variations of what they're doing. Maybe they don't deliver on time, so you could become more efficient. So you find out what your competition is doing and what they're not doing well, and then you do what they're not doing well better, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And
so sense.
Yes. So your competition, you don't compete by doing what your competition is doing. You compete by doing what your competition is not doing. And if they're doing it badly, you find a way for you to do it better.
And then you stand out, because the people that have been disenfranchised will then notice your own business and they will be able to come to you. That is absolutely brilliant. I feel like we need to have another session whereby we just talk on business, business strategy, business success and things like that. But today we're focused on you. So I wanted to ask, as an international strategy expert and tech inclusion advocate, what would you say to people that are still dragging their feet on adopting technology? I know a lot of people are still shying away from it. So what's your take on that?
The simplest way for me to put it is you're getting left behind. That is the only way for me to put it.
Yes, that's a perfect answer.
If you haven't adopted technology, if you're afraid of adopting technology, you are getting left behind very quickly. There's so many things that are happening. Things are moving at the speed of light in the.
I think it's more faster than the speed of light.
And if you're not adopting technology, if you're not looking at areas where your company can use technology well, you're getting left behind. And I think when a lot of people talk about technology or think about technology, they complicate it. They think it's the ones and zeros on the screen, all of the coding. They think that's it. But technology is so much more than that. Technology is as simple as using Instagram. It's as simple as me posting my content, using my phone to shoot a video and posting it on YouTube. So technology is so much more. For example, I like efficiency.
I wish we had more time, but we're running out of time.
That's fine. Yeah. Okay.
Time. So I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
In 30 seconds.
Okay.
What is your definition of success in business and then in life?
My definition of success is doing what I should do every day and doing it well. That's it.
Doing what I should do every day and doing it well. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say in 10 seconds?
I don't have much to say except dare boldly to be everything you know that you can be. That's it.
Wow. Can you say that again?
Dare boldly to be everything that you know you can be.
Dare boldly to be everything that you know you can be. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you today. Thank you everyone that joined in. If you have not shared this video, go ahead and share with your friends so that they can benefit from this session. And until next time, be exceptional, be intentional, and be on point. Bye-bye.